fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, no, no. We don't have to fight.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Just Chill with Oliver George. This is episode 24 now, another Zoom interview. And but before we get to that, I do want to say if you're watching this on YouTube and you would prefer an audio-only version you could take with you on the go, check me out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., and vice versa. If you are listening to this and you want to see the visual side of things in this crazy room we have here, come check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. And if you want to reach out to the show, it is justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. If you have a cool idea for a guest or you want to just drop me a line and say, hey, what's up? This episode was a blast. It's a short one, but a good one. I got a chance to sit down digitally with comedian Graham Kay, who is an Ottawa native and has appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He has done tons of sketch comedy, which you can see on YouTube, which had me in stitches every time I checked it out because it was, the guy's just got that kids in the hall, just, I don't know, the strange kind of comedy that really tickles my funny bone. But I'm really excited for you guys to check this out. So please, the man lives in New York now, and he is representing comedy in a big way. So enjoy. Thank you.
That's better?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Right on, man. Okay. Well, thanks again for taking the time to talk to me. And it's especially cool since you're an Ottawa comic. I myself, I do the Yuck Yucks thing, maybe not as consistently, but so that's just cool to see somebody make it on the big stage. You move down to New York and you've had a lot of success. So it's very cool when you're someone like in my shoes, still trying to do the small town thing, see somebody make it like that,
Yeah. Well, I guess, it always helps to see somebody else close to you make it, even if we're not close personally. The fact,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, Steph Curry is Del Curry's son. It's a basketball reference.
Yeah, I suck with sports stuff. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's a good thing we're doing video chat because I could see the look on your face, and I was like, I'll give him a reference point. It's just there's like this huge influx of athletes' sons that are doing really well lately.
Makes sense.
In all sports, and it's really, 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 really hard to make it in professional sports.
That's
and the reason why they're making it is because someone close to them, they could see somebody else do it. So it's just so much more believable when you're surrounded by it.
It's so true. It's kind of the same you see in Hollywood with a lot of families that are into acting. Their children will go on to do the same.
So and by extension, I think it helps. It's not obviously not the same at all because I'm not spending money on comedy training for you, but it's like just helpful to see somebody that from your town make it.
Yeah, someone from the same circumstances.
Yeah, not exactly. Not that I'm like, I'm talking to you from a studio apartment, so I haven't made it, but I'm.
I don't know, man. Going on Colbert Show is pretty killer if you ask me. So, it depends how you measure making it. But in my eyes, you're doing it.
Well, thanks.
I was actually going to ask you, just kind of the Ottawa nerd in me, like, where were you from around here? What school do you go to and that kind of shit?
I went to Glebe. I'm from the Glebe. I'm from right behind the beer store on Bank Street, across from Frank Clair Stadium.
Yeah. Down near Lansdowne or whatever.
Yeah, like near Lansdowne, yeah. Kettleman's Bagels.
Oh, yeah. That place is solid.
Pizza, Irene's Pub.
Yeah, that's a great place.
Yeah.
A lot of good music coming out of there.
That was my local when I was like 19. Just to get there, just go there and get hammered for $20.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, it was great.
So when would you have been doing like Ottawa Yucks? What year would that have been?
Well, I had a weird
yeah, I just assumed you would have gone through there at some point,
Yeah, I did the open mic thing way back in the day. Like I'm 39 now, so I was 20 when I went up my first time.
Okay.
And I had like a summer job, and you had to call. I don't know if it's still like this, but you had to call on like Wednesday, the first Tuesday or Wednesday of the month, and then all the spots are chosen on that day.
Yeah, it's
The whole
basically now they do like you email Howard or whoever on the 15th, and then he basically has a lineup on the 16th.
Right.
So if you miss it and you don't put it in your calendar, you're fucked.
Right. So the way it used to work is you had to. I mean, we had email back then, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I guess it just takes a long time. Anyway, you had to call. And it was so hard to get through because you had to call exactly at noon, and everyone would call. And I could never get through because I didn't have. My parents had old phones, and then we didn't have redial.
Like, are you talking rotary?
Well, we had like punch numbers, but we didn't have a redial button. So every time I had to call back, I have to like punch in the number again. And it was just too much. So what you have to do, the only way how I started to get booked is I got a summer job with a phone that had a redial button. And every time I would call, it would be busy. I'd hang up, press redial again. And I would do that like 50 times until it would go through.
Damn.
I would get like one spot. And then I did that like maybe 3 times. And then
it's a pretty terrible system, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not great. And then I did that about 3 times over the span of like 2 years. And then I got a summer job in New York when I was like 24 or something. I'd done like maybe 5. I've done comedy like maybe 5 times, and then I moved to New York for a job, and I got fired from my summer job. I sent kids. My job was working for I'm not Jewish. I don't know how I got this job.
Okay.
I was working for a rich kids Jewish summer camp. So rich that they would be flown around Europe, and I was doing logistics for these kids. So what I would do is how I got fired was I sent a kid to the wrong city in Italy. I flew him to the wrong city.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. But then my rent was $800, and I already got my rent money. So all I needed was food. So I just went on Craigslist and like helped old ladies hang up TVs and stuff. And and like
odd jobs
at like something called the Javits Center here. And I help people move. And I just like did that for food money. And then I was like, I kind of like this New York thing. I started doing like open mics and stuff. And then I was like, let me try and stay. And so I got a job working under the table at a restaurant. And I was an undocumented worker in New York for 5 years.
Oh shit, illegal alien. So
I kind of didn't really start in Ottawa. I kind of started in New York because I only been up like I did problem was I did Absolute before I left, and I thought I was the best comedian in the world because that if you know Ottawa comedy or if you know Canadian comedy, that's like at the Absolute Club on Preston Street in Ottawa is legitimately one of the hottest rooms in the world. And so like, I mean, especially back then, the audience were so kind, especially on the amateur night.
And they've got like a nice room upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah.
But
the upstairs one, you could literally make a fart noise in the microphone and everyone would laugh. And like I crushed, and I was like, well, I'm ready for Letterman, and like I should go to New York.
That's honestly, well, not the New York part, but that's pretty much the same thing that happened to me. My first sets ever were at the same spot, and I did really well in some competition, and it was like my 3rd time ever doing comedy. But I haven't been there in years. I kind of just started doing the Yuck Yucks thing, and I dug that underground spot for whatever reason. I've been going there more, but
it's I love the Yuck Yucks room. I think
it's like a little basement of comedy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's perfect setup for comedy. Low ceilings.
Yeah.
Stage side. It's in the middle of a long, skinny room. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's funny. I totally did not expect that to be your sort of comedic origin. I definitely thought you were going to say you had your roots here and then you took the big trip to New York or whatever. But that's very interesting.
No, I'm a weird guy. Like I do things the hardest way. Always. I don't know why. The smart thing.
You learn stuff that way.
I guess. If I did it all over again, I would have done like a year in Ottawa, decided if I liked it or not. I would have decided that I loved it, and then I should have moved to Toronto, and then I should have moved to New York.
More of like a step-by-step kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Montreal's a great spot too for comedy,
Yeah.
obviously.
It's a great spot, and it's a great city, and it's close to Ottawa.
Yeah.
But I don't. My French isn't good enough to get a
Same here.
job. Like I would maybe have to do like a French course. It was just too much. So I had English friends who worked there, but they had to do telemarketing, and it just seemed like a nightmare.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've never really thought about moving to Quebec as much as I like visiting there. It's just the French barrier is a lot to overcome.
No, it's like when you're 23, all you want to do is get drunk and try and have sex. And it's like, I don't think I want to be a telemarketer. I think I want to like be a bartender or a waiter.
Yeah. Something more suave.
Yeah, if I have to like a side hustle, you know. So,
well, shit, but that must have still been somewhat of a culture shock moving to New York from Canada.
It really was. It really was.
Like, was it like the movies, or was it like totally different? You know what I mean? I've never been there myself.
Well, I would say that growing up, even though Ottawa is a very quiet, smaller city, it's still a fairly multicultural city. It's still 1 million people.
Yeah.
And I did grow up more or less downtown. And I think that helped me a bit. I also had done a lot of traveling. I lived in Budapest, Hungary, working for the government for a year. So I was sort of up for it. But it's just very interesting to be the only white person in a neighborhood. You know, you don't think about that growing up in Ottawa as a white guy. Never ever have that feeling, you know, and you're not necessarily scared, or it's not like a prejudice feeling. It's more of like oh shit, this is like what my friend Jeremy must have felt like every day.
Exactly. Yeah, no, Ottawa's got some whitewashed neighborhoods for sure.
Yeah.
My school was pretty whitewashed. I went to Colonel By, so we had not as much diversity as, say, like Gloucester, which was up the hill, and they were a much more diverse school than us.
Ottawa or Glebe High School was like, I'm gonna say 60% white when I went there. So it was pretty multicultural as far as Canada goes.
Yeah.
Which helped. But there's a pace in New York, and then also just there in America, it's like a big it's the Wild West out here. It's like you can do whatever you want. And in terms of small business and stuff like that, and everyone's so entrepreneurial here from the ground up. There's just way more like people pushing a cart, selling a frozen thing they made.
Yeah, everywhere you look, there's somebody kind of just hustling.
Or there's just always someone hustling on a street corner trying to sell you something. Like always, it's like.
Sounds kind of intense though.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool. You're always getting bargains, you know? And it's just like in Canada, I love Canada, by the way. I mean, I absolutely love it. I'm Canadian through and through. It's like the longer I live here, the more obvious it is. But I just feel like all that stuff would get like shut down in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Just a guy in a parks. They have these things here that they sell in every park, in every beach, and it's called nutcrackers. And it's just like
the food?
No, it's it's just like a fruit punch rum drink.
Not what I was expecting. Okay.
And it's just nutcracker everywhere. And there's just a guy with a cooler pulling a cooler. And everyone's like, all right. Everyone's getting smashed at the beach for like.
Yeah, I've never heard of that in my life.
Horrible hangovers, but it's like, great, whatever. But that would never fly in Canada. Just a bunch of people selling alcohol.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And you're like, am I going to get sick? And then everyone around you is drinking them and everyone's fine. You're like, okay.
I guess, yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know, like that sort of America is a bit of a culture shock when you move here from Canada.
Well, especially
But
New York is kind of like the mecca for that too, almost.
yeah,
Yeah.
and people are loud here, and people talk to you here. People don't talk to you in English Canada.
What do you mean,
Like,
like just randomly?
or no, I wouldn't say English Canada. I'll say outside of East Coast Canada.
Okay. Yeah, they're very friendly people. Yeah.
People will just be like, they'll be like, damn man, hot one out today, huh? Like you're like, yeah, like oh shit, and then
Just like
okay.
zero filter on everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like kind of a giant small town here because that's how it started. It's just a bunch of little villages here.
Yeah.
So you know everybody in your neighborhood, and everyone looks at you and talks to you, and they expect you to. But when I moved back to Toronto when I for 3 years in the middle of my comedy journey, and that was a culture shock. So people
Coming
are so
back.
cold.
Yeah.
People are like they're not friendly. They just won't. No one talks to you. No one looks you in the eye. Even at bars, no one talks to you or looks you in the eye. You know. Whereas you go like on the east coast of Canada, everyone's like, you look at somebody, they're like, "How you doing there, bud?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know.
Everybody's just really jovial. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Well, I actually kind of wanted to ask you in relation to moving there. Like you said, you came back, so you've obviously done comedy in both Canada and the U.S. Do you find the crowds extremely different?
No.
No. That's the end of that. Nope.
People are always like, are the crowds different, or I think the crowds are smarter I think the Canada and the U.S. and the Western world in general, it's more of a urban, rural cultural difference that is closer. I think people who live in rural communities in Canada have a lot more in common with people who live in rural communities in America than they do with urban Canadians.
True. Yeah. Just the city versus country thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I think the crowds are much different in cities than they are in less densely populated places.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the major difference. But I think that Midwest and like sort of I that's not even true.
I know what you mean though. I feel like you could take like a cowboy dude from Calgary and he'd probably have a blast in Texas. You know what I mean? Like, I see where you're going with it.
But even like a cowboy dude in like Calgary is going to be just as good an audience, in my opinion, as some politician's son in Ottawa. You know?
Yeah.
I just think, they're exposed to more stuff. They're not smarter, obviously, but they're just, I don't know.
I know what you're saying. A little more real life experience.
I've done some like really good shows in rural Canada. I've also done some really horrible shows in rural Canada, where it's like, okay, you just want me to talk about my dick, I guess. But people are, I don't know. It's so funny. You walk into these like horrible scenarios. Some barn in at the middle of Ontario, and you're like, this is going to be the worst, and everyone's so smart and nice, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
I'm prejudiced.
Yeah, well, these preconceived notions, and then it doesn't always actually line up.
Yeah, everyone gets like they laugh at the right time at the right jokes, and you're like, oh, and like you're sitting up there in the back of your head going, I'm an idiot. These people they have the internet, for God's sakes.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask you, with living in New York, has it been kind of crazy during all the COVID shit and the George Floyd stuff that was going on, all the protests? I mean, it must have been kind of a extra crazy couple of months for you compared to people, up here or. Yeah. Just insanity is what it seems like when you're watching the news from Canada. You know what I mean?
It was definitely not as bad as when you see the news. Yeah, I had friends that left New York to go live on their girlfriend's parents' farm, upstate New York or whatever, in Connecticut or whatever, what have you. and then they were like, hey, are there bodies piling up on the street? Because all they're getting is the news, and you look out your window and there's like a family pushing a stroller with a latte. You're like, no.
It's all blown up so huge. Yeah.
I mean, it is bad. The numbers were bad, but on the street, it's not bad. Like people are, it was scary for sure. It was, I didn't leave my house a lot in April. But it's fine now. I'm actually having a really fun summer. I'm playing basketball with my friends. I'm going to the beach a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of opportunity for like outdoor stuff and taking care of yourself. And I agree in that sense, but
the more that we find out about the virus, it's like if you're outdoors and if you're socially distant, you're fine.
Yeah. And if you're closer, put on a mask,
If you're indoors ordering a sandwich, everyone should have a mask on.
Yeah.
And then everything's fine. Like, so that's New York kind of has figured it out, I think, and our numbers are lower and lower and lower each week.
Yeah.
And they're basically nothing now. So,
Well, all the stuff with the NYPD also seemed pretty crazy from a Canadian standpoint when there was all the protests going on. It looked pretty hardcore. Yeah.
It's still going on and they're just not covering it anymore, but it's definitely less than it was for sure. But it's still, there's huge protests happening all the time. And there's an Instagram account that I follow that sometimes I go on these protests, and it was a lot, but it was also cathartic to go. If you go on a protest and you see the good in people and you see so many good people and you see all these like Black people lining the streets watching us protest, being like crying and saying thank you.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
It's like beautiful, and it fills you up,
Yeah, it was about time. All this stuff clearly needed to be fought for, and but still, I imagine it being very kind of scary. And you have an interesting perspective because you grew up in Canada. You have done the switching countries thing. So I thought it might get you a little more freaked out because you grew up with Canadian cops. I don't know. Are they that much worse? That's how it's portrayed.
They're probably a little better, but in fact, they are better, but there's still like a bunch of issues. And
yeah,
and I remember there's looking back on it, there was a mixed race couple that lived down the street from me, and they had a bunch of Black kids, and they were my friends. And my buddy was like playing basketball. He's Black, and then all the people on his basketball team were Black, and they were driving around like Billings Bridge, and his mom was driving the van with a bunch of like Black teenagers, and they got pulled over and questioned and stuff. Like the cop thought all these like Black teenagers kidnapped this like white lady.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, no, we're not perfect up here by any means. The RCMP's had a bunch of issues with Native Americans and stuff in specific.
Yeah.
But no, the NYPD though looked pretty freaky.
Like he's awesome, and it's like but he's a very bright, exceptional individual, and it'd be insane to think that everyone in any profession would be really the best, and there's always going to be weak idiots. That's just an unavoidable thing. It's just you just have to be able to prosecute people who do bad things. Yeah.
Well, no industry is safe, right? There's always going to be some level of corruption. I was having this discussion with someone the other day that like take any industry, it doesn't matter. If you're going to try and say that there's no corruption, you're lying to yourself, because there's always going to be some asshole who wants to try to exploit a situation or a person, or it's undeniable. So I try to prepare for that and still have an optimistic outlook otherwise. So along the lines of you being from Ottawa and making it and going on Colbert, I did kind of want to ask you about that experience, because I think that's something that a lot of up and coming comedians, that's, having the 6 minutes on Carson or whatever, that's always the comic's dream. So I just want to know what the experience was like. Like, was it exactly what you thought it would be, or was it terrifying, or was it, just kind of how did it go for you?
I was beyond
It was a great
ready.
set. Sorry to interrupt, bud.
Thank you. By the way, I want to say I'm sorry I'm not being funny on your podcast. I just played like 2 hours of basketball in the sun.
Oh, dude. Don't even worry about it. I just would like having conversations with people. I don't expect anything from anybody other than let's sit down and chat,
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I was playing basketball, and I had a bunch of calls from like potential landlords I was waiting on. I'm trying to look for an apartment. I'm trying to like capitalize on this dip in the real estate market.
Oh yeah.
Because everyone's leaving New York. All these like people who moved here they don't really like New York. They just moved here for their jobs, and now they can work remotely. So all these apartments are opening up because all these yuppies are leaving.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so I'm trying to like, my apartment's dope right now, but I want like obviously, anyway, it doesn't matter. But anyway, doing late night was awesome, and it was something that it was one of the main reasons why I moved to America. Like, why did I leave Canada? Well, I wanted to make more money doing stand-up, and I wanted to have more opportunity for sure. But also, when you grow up doing stand-up or grow up as a kid, if like I'm a comedy fan always. Most people are music fans or they're film buffs or whatever. There's a sliver of us that are comedy fans. Like we think about comedy and love comedy like normal people like music. And if you're like if you want to do it, if you're a musician, you can just you can make it from Canada. You can put out an album. You can get a recording deal. Music can shoot all over the world.
Yeah.
If you're a comedian, like you grow up watching late night comedy, like sets on late night TV, and you're like, I want that. Canada doesn't have that.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I'm trying to think of any host we've had here that's ever done that. Maybe like Mike Bullard or somebody might have give people 5 minutes.
Yeah, but it's not even like real. Nobody watches that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Access cable. Like it's.
Yeah, that was Comedy Network or whatever. Yeah, it's not huge.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know. So it's just like you just want to do comedy, and it's just you want to do the things that you grew up idolizing and seeing.
Yeah.
And the only way to do it is to move, which kind of sucks. But when I like moved back to Toronto for those 3 years, I was like, oh man, I didn't realize that I love Canada so much. Like
it's a great place.
I love living in New York, and I really do think America is a great country. I know there's a bunch of dingbats in it, but I promise you, Canada's not far behind, and a bunch of morons that live there. Like anyway. But like, it truly is a full of really good, kind people. But I'm Canadian, I grew up like that. So, but it sucks that I had to leave. But,
well, and it sucks that you can't really visit anytime soon by the looks of it,
I can visit. I was going to go this week, actually.
I thought the borders were closed, no?
Not for me. I have a green card and I'm a Canadian citizen.
Oh, you're a dual citizen. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Shit.
So because if you have a passport, you can come into Canada. Canada's never going to not let its own citizens in. The only thing is you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and the government checks on you 3 random times.
Oh.
And you can't stay in a house with anybody over 65. And if you break one of the rules, the fine is $750,000.
Jesus.
And then, I mean, that's kind of awesome. It's one of the reasons why Canada's numbers are so low.
Yeah.
But I was like prepared to do that, and then I was like, I don't want to do that now. I'm doing all these like outdoor park shows in New York, so I'm like doing comedy again. I'm having a great summer. I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm gonna go. Like my parents are gonna go to the cottage and hang out for 2 weeks because they're 72. And then I would stay in their house alone for 2 weeks in the middle of summer.
Yeah, that sounds kind of a bummer.
Outside one time for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I then stay for another like 10. I don't know. It just seems.
No,
stupid.
you should totally come when it starts to get cold out, because that's when they say the spike's gonna happen and the virus likes colder weather. So yeah, come in the fall or whatever.
And I'll just stay inside for 2 weeks. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go. There's a place you can get a rapid test here, like same day. So I'm gonna go do that, and then they give it to you in 20 minutes. So you find out if you have it or not, and then I'm gonna go rent a car, and I'll drive up to Ottawa, drop it off, and then wipe down all the knobs and stuff. So in case I got it on the trip, filling gas or whatever, and then so I don't kill the dollar rent a car man.
Yeah.
And
So your
staying at,
folks are still here then, eh?
yeah, they're there, and then I'll just rent an Airbnb, and then I'll just stay in there for 2 weeks and watch a bunch of movies, do a bunch of push-ups.
Might as well if you're stuck inside for 2 weeks. Yeah, come out looking like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you just about your YouTube stuff because I think you have a bunch of hilarious videos up there. I thought Wasted Babies was particularly funny, and the new thing you're doing right now too, Watch Us Talk, is really satirical kind of take on a talk show, which you guys are nailing that too. So I wanted to get anyone who watches this, they should go check out your page. But it really showed me that you have roots in sketch comedy as well as stand up. And I kind of wanted to ask you if you had a preference between the two, if you could only do one or the other for the rest of your life, which would you choose? Because I know you're still doing sketch stuff, right?
Yeah, I love sketch. I mean, growing up watching SNL and like Kids in the Hall. Oh my gosh, that really influenced my comedy. But stand up, nothing beats stand up. Nothing beats like getting an immediate reaction from the audience, and then there's no like waking up early and paying a guy to shoot you with a camera and then
editing and shit.
God, it takes so long.
Yeah.
But that Watch Us Talk, it's the worst talk show ever.
Yeah.
Talk show ever. It's supposed to be found footage of the worst morning talk show ever, and I'm really proud of it, and I worked really hard on it, and
it's shot really nicely, and that producer who kind of hates you guys, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, we're pretty happy about it. It's doing really well on Twitter, and it's doing okay on Instagram. But I had a bunch of my more famous friends who really like it retweet it, so that helped a lot.
Yeah, you should keep making them.
We got 10 episodes.
Yeah, but I don't know. I say keep it going.
Yeah, we'll try when we're allowed out of the house again.
Yeah, things are less COVID-y. Yeah.
I guess we could film it in a park with a bunch of masks. That'd be
an outdoor episode. Yeah. You also had a show that almost got picked up. I know you were posting about it on Facebook a couple weeks ago, which was also great. And I'm really bummed that never got, up and running.
Those episodes were on Fuse TV, which is
the best worst show, right?
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's like this cable TV channel out here that's owned by ABC.
Okay.
We had 3 episodes make it to air, and then the guy who liked it got fired. And then
that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like you and other comics doing a round table, sort of discussing different topics about what's the worst, who's the worst racist cop, or it was a great premise. I don't know. I think it should have gone further.
Yeah, worst tattoo. Which celebrity worst tattoo ever?
There's a lot of them.
Worst political campaign ever.
Yeah, that's a good thing. All the topics you picked had a lot of material you could go from, a lot of choices to pick from,
Yeah, we filmed those like 3 years ago, and then like all this stuff happened, and it was like, oh, these are perfect. Worst campaigns, most racist cop. It was like, oh,
yeah, it's all on point for sure.
It's systemic problems are still here, thank God.
Shit, man. I wanted to, before I forget, I want to tell people to watch Stupid Jokes, your special on Crave. I haven't seen it because we canceled our Crave account right when Disney Plus came out because there's too many fucking platforms you have to subscribe to every month now. I can't even. But I don't.
It's just cable all over again, except you have to pay 10 different people. It's the same price. It's
so yeah.
But you can get a free 1-month subscription to Crave TV, and you can watch my specials. So if you don't have Crave TV, you can sign up, get free one month. Remember, put it in your calendar to sign out after a month.
Yeah.
And then you get a free month, and you can watch. There's like they got all like the HBO stuff on there, and
there's some good shit on there for sure.
Yeah, you watch Game of Thrones and my stand up. So
yeah, they actually had a lot of stand up. I was really impressed when I did have that for a couple months. It's a pretty good platform.
Let me tell you, like I gotta say, like growing up in Canada, and we all know this, when something looks Canadian. That show, I don't know. This show looks Canadian. You like
Degrassi or something.
change it because it just, I don't know, we don't have the same lights or camera lenses.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What the hell? They did such a good job, Crave. Like it looks really good. It looks as good or better than a Comedy Central special. And also Crave, I got to give up them for supporting Canadian stand-up comics. And the stand-up comics that they chose for the specials are all comics that I would have chosen myself. Like they did a great job. They chose really funny people that I'm fans of, you know. So that whole series they came out, they did last year. I think they put out 6, and they put out another 6 this year that I was part of. But I vouch for all of them, you know, except for one.
Damn, now I'm gonna have to go and resubscribe. I'll use a different credit card or something and do it all over again, because I did the 1 month free thing, you know, back 6 months ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're making me want to go watch all these specials now. I'm going to hit you up with one last question we've been asking everybody this season, which is if you could be endowed with a superhuman ability, besides flying, because it's obvious, what would it be and why?
X-ray vision, because I like titty. Want to see those nugs.
Oh, that's perfect. See, you said you weren't being funny. Come on, man. That's hysterical. It's probably the funniest answer we've had. Yeah, thanks, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're still on the hunt, and all the best with that. I hope you get a sweet new pad.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm. We'll see. I'm on the way. I put a deposit down for an apartment yesterday, and then I immediately had renter's remorse. I was like, I don't want this place, so hopefully I don't get it. You know, another place.
It's a big decision. It's where you're gonna fucking live, right? Especially in quarantine.
Yeah. I got a big winter coming up here of nothing, so it's got to be. I want to be in a.
Yeah, it's got to be sweet.
Yeah.
Shit, right, man. Well, anytime you're in Ottawa, if you want to stop by, I'd be more than happy to talk to you again. I know you were supposed to come originally. We had sort of set something up in June. You were supposed to be here, but then all this shit happened. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me. And yeah, anytime, please come by, man.
Well, you're a nice young man, and thanks for having me on.
Of course. It's an honor, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, you're welcome.
Have a good one, dude.
Yeah.